In these trying times of fear and anxiety, inspiring and uplifting stories are totally helpful, whether from real life experiences or from imaginative ideas. Good day, grade 11 learners. I am Sir Alexander Barya from Bignay National High School Senior High School Department, welcoming you all to the world of creative writing. Writing at times can be laborious and stressful. It is time consuming and, let us be honest, difficult at most of the times. There is a massive amount of work involved to become a competent writer. Still, we can associate fun learning in writing. All that is required is a spoonful of imagination, slices of techniques, and of course, your cups of effort. So for this 2-day lesson, we will explore the following competencies. Identify the various elements, techniques, and literary devices from various modes of fiction, and write journal entries and other short compositions exploring key elements of fiction. Kindly listen attentively, take down important details from the topic, and enjoy the rest of our discussion. Are you all ready? Great! Let's begin. Writers are the origin of all great stories. They are the masters of the world that they created in a form of literature. Famous fiction writers made their name and influenced the lives of many, especially their readers, us. So before we dig deeper into our main course, let us try to check if you are still familiar with the faces of these iconic writers and their famous works of fiction. Who is who? Guess the writer, name their work. Are you familiar with these writers? Let's have the first one. Do you know this writer? Correct! She is J.K. Rowling, the writer of the famous novel Harry Potter. What about this writer? Correct! He is the author of The Lord of the Rings. He is J.R.R. Tolkien. What about this author? Brilliant! He is Stephen King, the horror writer of It. What about this author? Do you know her? Correct! She is Susan Collins, the writer of the Hunger Games series. Let's go next. Who is this author? Perfect! He is Paulo Coelho, the writer of The Alchemist. Let's proceed to the next. Do you know who he is? Nice job! He is George R.R. Martin, the cruel author of the Game of Thrones. What about this one? Nice! He is Nicholas Sparks, the writer of The Notebook. Let's proceed to the next. Who is this author? Brilliant! She is Stephanie Meyer, the writer of The Twilight Saga. What about this author? Nice! He is Dan Brown, the writer of The Angels and Demons. And let's have the last one. Who is this writer? He's none other than William Shakespeare, the writer of the romantic Romeo and Juliet. Brilliant! You are a certified bookworm. But if you did not find them all familiar, at least now, you know. After knowing all these writers and their works, let us have a simple review. A certain dish has its flavors, Knowing the perfect ingredients makes it a good dining experience. Same with the story. It also has its elements which serve vital for an effective work of writing. Let us check if you are still familiar with the following terminologies relevant in writing a story. Please be guided by the jumbled letters to be given. Let's have the first one. It is the flow of the story from the beginning to the end. It is none other than plot. Second, the person in the story portraying roles and actions. It is character. Number 3, the moral of the story implying the message from the writer. It is theme. Number 4, it is the perspective of the story and how it is narrated. It is none other than point of view. Number 5, the attitude and emotions of the story. It is the mood and the tone. Number 6, it is the time and place of the events in the story. Of course, it is none other than setting. Excellent! Now you are truly ready for our main discussion. It is good to know that you are still familiar with these important elements in literature. So now, let me discuss these elements further. The elements of fiction. Fiction is a work of imagination. It has elements that are universal or commonly present to all forms of literary works from every culture and time period. So what are these elements that comprise fiction? How can all these elements contribute to fiction writing? A story's beginning is called the exposition, which is a fancy way of saying the initial setup to the story, followed by the rising action, where all the actions lead up to the pivotal part of the story and the origin of conflict. All these actions lead up to the story's most important part, which is the climax. This is where the story hits its peak and marks intensity to the story's turning point, going to its falling action, which is named because it consists of everything that falls out from the climax and the results of the climactic action. And just as the rising action leads to the climax, the falling action leads to the resolution, or what we call denouement, the finale of the story. We call all these parts as plot, our first element of fiction. A well-structured plot will keep readers guessing what happens next until they hit the climax and soon be surprised, shocked, or satisfied with the resolving ending. Let us now introduce another element of fiction. We call it character. Characters are fictional people, the who in a story. The number of characters is completely up to the author. A character is a representation of a person, a place, or a thing performing traditionally human activities or functions in a work of fiction classified into different kinds. We have main characters and minor characters. The main characters play the significant roles in the story. They are either protagonist or antagonist. The protagonist serves as a central character to whom the story revolves around, commonly known as the hero or heroine, symbolizing goodness and righteousness. On the other hand, we have the antagonist. It is a character or force opposing the protagonist, usually portrayed with an evil and wicked nature of a character in stories. Let us also include and not forget the minor characters. They are the ones who provide support and illumination to the main characters. Characters can be defined in different classifications. We have a stock character, a character that is stereotyped, requiring little detailed portraiture or emphasis. They are commonly dominant in virtues and vices. Another types of characters are known as the flat and static characters. A flat character is a type of a stock or stereotype character capable of advancing the plot, but it requires only the barest outlines of descriptions. A static character is one who does not undergo changes and development in the story. We also have a round and dynamic characters. A round character is a character that has more than one trait and usually acts as a protagonist. This character possesses complex, contradictory, and realistic traits in nature. A dynamic character is a character that undergoes changes and development in some important way that it can either be consistently good or evil. These characters can also transform from good to bad and vice versa in the course of the story. A foil character is another type, serving as either good or evil. This character is used to indicate the entire opposite of another character when it comes to its characteristics. The theme of a story is our next element of fiction. It refers to the central idea, the thesis, the message, or the generalization or abstraction of a story. In some stories, the theme serves as the moral of the story, which is mostly easy to be identified or seldom so obvious. The theme is also the subject of the story, depending on the writer's view, sometimes interpreted through the use of symbols to signify meanings with concrete objects, bearing literal meanings or abstract thoughts about the story. Another element of fiction is called the point of view. It pertains to who tells the story and how it is told by the writer. The point of view of a story can sometimes indirectly establish the author's intention. It is like a camera throughout the story where there are three basic perspectives: the first person, second person, and the third person, known as the narrator. The narrator is the person telling the story, who may or may not be a character in a story. The first person is the narrator participating in action but sometimes has limited knowledge or vision. The second person is a narrator addressing the reader directly as though she or he is part of the story. For example, you walk into your bedroom, you see clutter everywhere, and so on. The third person is objecting. He or she is the narrator who is unnamed and unidentified, a detached observer, does not presume character's perspective, and is not a character in the story. The narrator reports on events and lets the reader supply the meaning. The omniscient, the all-knowing narrator. In multiple perspectives, it is known as someone by which a character is thinking and feeling, not just what they are doing throughout the story. In literature, tone and mood are considered as another element of fiction. Tone is the feeling and attitude that the author takes toward the work's central theme or subject. It can be humorous, solemn, distant, intimate, ironic, arrogant, condescending, sentimental, and so on. On the other hand, the mood is the feeling or vibe evoked to the readers through selected words and descriptions used by the writer in the story. So if the writer used a sentimental tone in the story, the readers will have a sentimental mood towards it. A story of fiction will never be possible without its localization, or what we commonly know as the setting. A setting refers to the time and place when and where the events of the story transpire. It includes 4 environmental dimensions to give a place a distinctive nature, such as the physical environment, sociological environment, psychological environment, and time. Physical environment refers to the shapes, colors, textures, natural features, and landscapes which are discernible. Sociological environment refers to cultural, economic, and political attributes of the place, centered on beliefs and traditions of a society in a story. Psychological environment refers to the personality of the place. It shows if a mansion is dreary, if the neighborhood is cheerful, if the town is sleepy, or if the school is friendly. It describes the behavior of the place in the story. Lastly is the time. It is specifically where and when the writer describes the events in the story. It is during day or night, rainy or sunny, yesterday, today, or tomorrow, even months or years ago. It is a dimension of setting that also emphasizes historically related events. And that completes the different elements of fiction: plot, character, theme, point of view, tone and mood, and lastly, the setting. Easy to remember, right? So now, let us put all these elements in writing. Let us write a story. During your elementary and junior high school days, you might have written scripts for plays and acting performances, especially in your English classes. So in order to embrace this activity, let us summon, again, your wills, your writer's imaginative literary skills, and write up your own short fiction. Let us all be guided by the mechanics of this task. First, create your own short fictional story focusing on any of the following themes. Choose only one: surviving COVID, new normal, online world, frontliners. Second, write this story of yours focusing with the elements discussed. Make it a 3-page or a 5-page story with your own style of narration. Next one is, of course, on a separate page, identify the elements of your written story by creating a plot pyramid, classifying your characters as to who are the main, minor, and other types of character they are classified into. Next is indicating your point of view, stating the tone and mood of your story, describing the settings of your story, and lastly, revealing the theme. Also, don't forget to fashion your work with a catchy title, with your whole name as a writer or your self-made names, following the rubrics that I am going to post for creative writing. Kindly submit all of your writing outputs by uploading it in our Facebook group with your name and section, of course. Don't forget. Nicely done and happy writing. For our discussion tomorrow, please answer the following questions. What is the difference between the elements of fiction to the literary techniques and devices used in fiction? What is the use of these literary devices in fiction writing? And what are some examples of these literary devices? Ideas are cheap. It's the execution that is all important. George R.R. Martin, a best-selling fiction writer of Game of Thrones novels, has made his point. So make use of your ideas and always put it into writing. Thank you so much everyone for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this first part of our creative writing journey. Always remember, read more, write well, and create a masterpiece. This is Sir Alex signing off, wishing you safety in your home, wellness of health, and the greatest of day. See you all again tomorrow, and God bless everyone.